The ego within always wants to distract, but our right mind never takes the bait, never falls for the ego. It doesn't matter how persistent or deeply held an issue or a pattern is in your experience. The right mind within you is beyond all of that. There is no ego thought or ego pattern that is stronger than the truth. The ego is infinitesimally small compared to the infinite wonder of heaven. But it's like a part of the mind dove into that tiny little black dot and started to believe that it was all that was true. And then in experience, it seems to expand. It seems to unfold in all these strange ways here in the world. But at the core of every strange or upsetting issue or thing that unfolds in your experience is this nothingness of a black dot of separation. This is the false seed that seems to have grown into these unpleasant issues and problems. Bill Thetford was fond of saying, this is a course in problem solving. And when you think about it, it's really beautiful. If we practice what this course offers, it is the way to solve every problem, every issue, every problem, every situation. Which doesn't mean that everything is always going to look perfect on the level of form, but it's going to solve every upset that you have in your experience of what unfolds. You'll never again argue with what's unfolding or fight against it or wish that somehow things were different or like this instead of like that. Those are the roads to suffering, the roads to hell. But when you accept the dream as it is, then you can start to transcend it and realize that your peace has never left you. But in order to get there, you have to look at all of the grievances. You have to look at all of the upsets. You have to look at all the ways that you really think that you are a victim of what is happening around you or to you. We all know the beautiful message, script is written. The script of time and space is written. When we think about what a script is events that have been written out, so they will be acted out. Like a script of a play. If you go see Hamlet in the theater, and you've seen it before, you know what the characters are going to say. They're going to say the same lines. Even if you've seen Hamlet 50 times or 100 times, every time you watch it, you're going to see the same lines. Why? Because the script is written. The script of Hamlet is written. Well, the script of Matthew is written. The script of Emily is written. All of these scripts are written. So why are you so worried about what happens in the script? Because you have forgotten that you are the script writer and you think that you are the person in the script. Well, that's a lot of suffering to buy into that. And we made it extra convincing, right? We made these senses to show us that this person, this body that I seem to be in is what I am. And the senses, they really show that. They show that with our vision, with our eyes. We see things are out there, I am here. Maybe I can't see my face directly, but I can see it in a mirror or in a camera. But all of our senses do that. That's why Jesus calls them senses without sense. These are senses without sense. They don't make sense. It doesn't make sense to cook up a whole world of separation to prove that you are separate when you are not. It doesn't make sense. The good news is we can start to question this. We can start to realize things are not what they seem. All of this proof of separation is just fabrication. It's kind of catchy. The proof of separation is just a fabrication. And put it to some music here. But it's a self-fulfilling experience. We experience the separation as true because we want to experience the separation as true. Sometimes when people start to get the teachings that this whole experience is just a dream, they say, well, this seems really real. This dream that I seem to be having, it seems really convincing. I feel very convinced this is the actual truth. Well, you know why it feels convincing, why it feels really real? Because you want it to. You want to convince yourself that this is real. Well, you know, you can unconvince yourself too. How do you do that? How do you unconvince yourself that this dream world is real? Because it's not. How do you release that? Well, you question every upset that you have. You lift it up to spirit. You offer it over. You say, please, Holy Spirit, give me a miracle because I need to see this differently. I really think that that person doing that thing over there, that somehow affected me. I really think that I'm upset because of what that person over there has done. Not true. It's not true. You've been roped in. You've been roped in by this delusion that you have given to yourself. You've willingly succumbed to a delusion that you are doing to yourself. Wow, how's that? That's quite a thing. The good news, though, is that since you are the one doing it to yourself, you are the way that it is undone. Power to release yourself from this hallucination. Jesus uses that word, hallucination, to describe our experience of this world. The power to undo the experience of a hallucination is yours. It is no one else's. You will not find release from this dream of separation when that person over there does the thing you think they should do. No. Imagine thinking about it, like you really get that this is a dream. And you know, if you had a dream in bed at night, you're realizing you're dreaming, and you think to yourself, you know, if that dream character over there does something different, then everything's good for me. It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense if you really get that it's a dream. If you really get that it's a dream, all you want to do is just wake up and leave the dream. Remember that none of it's true, so you don't have to suffer from what the dream is showing you anymore. And again, just so this really hits home, that's the purpose of this situation that is so upsetting to you. That is the purpose, that you use it to realize that you are not here. You are not in this world of dream figures. You are not a figure in a world of dream figures, but you are the dreamer of the world of dream figures, and that you want to awaken and remember the truth of you, which is timeless, which is immortal, which is eternal, which is pure joy, pure love, pure peace. I mean, this sounds pretty good. You know, we get to give up a world of pain and suffering in exchange for eternal love, happiness, and joy. Let's see. Which choice am I going to make? Well, most of us don't jump for joy at this realization. Why? Because we're so attached to the suffering and these stories that make us so sad. We're so attached to them, but we don't have to be. We don't have to be. To go back to that image at the beginning, if you can imagine the tiniest possible little tiny, tiny black dot in a sea of light, your suffering, your problems in the world are all the choice to stay in your experience in the tiny infinitesimal black dot rather than the expanse of endless light. And again, the reason that you're still experiencing it is that you want to. You are not a victim of anything here. You're not a victim of your choice for separation, but you do have the power to choose again. And the power that you have to choose again is now. It's not in the future. It's not after you do some more of your forgiveness work. It's not eventually when all these issues in your life are somehow resolved. No, the power is right here. I want the peace of God. He says to say these words is nothing, but to mean them is everything. Say them and mean them. In your heart right now, I want the peace of God. I want the peace of God, no matter what. More important than anything else that happens, I want the peace of God. And you may notice you're still holding back a little. A part of you has said it, a part of you wants it, a part of you really means it. But there's still some grudge, there's still some issue, there's still some grievance hanging in your mind. It's not a sin to see this, but it is helpful. It is helpful. I think all of us here would say, I am very dedicated. I want to wake up. I want to experience the truth of what I am, to know God's love completely and nothing else. But then when the chance comes for us to really claim that, to experience it fully, just notice how part of you is maybe not fully on board. Can I do it next year when I've done these other things I want to do in my agenda? Can I wake up maybe in a few years, maybe before I die? I don't know. Maybe in a lifetime or three. Well, the ego loves that delay strategy. But this is about becoming really honest. We want to be completely honest because as much as a part of you feels dedicated, feels ready, that you want to know the truth of what you are, that part of you that says no is where your attention is rightly focused because that's where your healing lies. The part of you that wants to hold a grudge, the part of you that wants to think that person is mean, the part of you that wants to feel bad or oppositely self-inflated and feel really special. The part of you that wants to be different is the part that needs to be witnessed. And then once you really see it, is this what you want? Do you want to stay in this limiting, small loop of suffering? I think when you hear it like that, your answer is no. I don't want to stay there. But just see how there might be some hesitation. There might be a part of you that's not so sure. Is it really like that? And again, this is how we do the work. We look at all of the fear of awakening. We look at all of the shame. We look at all of the part of us that wants to stay small and limited. I heard someone say once, they're not sure they want to wake up because there's no Mozart in heaven. There's no music, from an instrument in heaven because there's just love. There's just peace. Well, what does Mozart evoke in you? I didn't say this to this person, but what does that experience evoke in you? That sublime beauty, that joy, that lifted up expansiveness. That's reflecting the truth. And that is what you want. That is what you will find when you let go of all of the form. Rather than limiting it to some specific experience, then it's just everywhere. It's all that you experience. Jesus talks about that there is a terror in us to let go of the self. He uses that word, terror. It's terrifying. We are so attached to believing that we are a separate entity, a separate body, a separate person, that to let go of the belief in that seems terrible to us. Well, let's look at that. Let's look at the terror of letting go of the belief that we are a person. Let's let the feelings up. Let's let the resistance show itself. Because in the light of loving and gentle witnessing, all of it will melt away. All of it will heal and release. But we have to face it. We can't just dive back into our daily routine and say, okay, that's all. I'm just going to do the things because I've done them before. And they need to be done again. No, let's look at the fear. Let's look at the terror. Let's look at whatever shows up in your awareness, because that's how we get to the state of joy. That's how we clear out all of the resistance and come into the truth of what we are. We have to say no to the ego, but we can't say no to it when we're just covering it over, pretending everything's okay. We have to let it up. We have to offer it to Holy Spirit. Jesus, look at this with me. I feel terrible about this thing. I really hate that person. Why did they do that to me? Why did they do that to my friend? Why are they doing that? I feel crazy about this. Bring all of that up. Bring all of that to Holy Spirit. There's nothing we can't offer to Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit is an eager beaver. The eager beaver wants to get to it. What Holy Spirit wants to get to is your awakening. He wants to get to releasing all these shadows in your mind. The beaver will actually, bite around the base of a tree and cut the trees down, use it to build their home. Well, the Holy Spirit wants to topple all of our false beliefs, not to build a home out of them, but actually to release them, send them downstream. We have to want it. We have to say yes to the healing. That's the only way we experience the result of the healing. We have to go all the way through the fear. We can't stop at the edge. We can't stop at the beginning. That's actually the worst place to try to stop, at the beginning of the fear, when the fear is building, because we haven't released it yet. It's still in our experience. And it's like we turn away. Well, you know what? You're just going to come back to that fear again. And you're just going to come back to it again and again until you move all the way through it. And that takes courage. But you know what? If you're here, you have courage. If you're watching this video, you have courage. You have the capacity to move through the fear. But you can't move through it by turning away from it. You can't move through it by turning a blind eye to it. It doesn't work. I'm guessing everyone's tried that. Everyone's tried that and knows it doesn't work. It's just a delaying tactic. And that is the power that you have. You have the power to delay or to not delay. That's what you have. You're going to head towards the issue so you can go through it, or you're going to try to get away from it. There's lots of ways to try to get away from the fear. The world is full of them. Illegal drugs, sex, booze, shopping, legal drugs, food, trying to find money, trying to lose money. I mean, there's lots of ways to distract and divert. But the only real peace comes in being with it. Talk about how, I think we've all seen movies where it's sort of a plot about a character overcoming addiction. Their life is a mess. It's all these problems. At some point, they decide they want to get clean. Well, in some of these movies, it's like they lock that person in the room and they go through all their withdrawal pains. And it's awful. They're screaming. They can't handle it almost. But then on the other side of all that intensity, then they start to get clean. The mind starts to get more clear. They start to feel better. And there's a road ahead, but they've taken a really big step. And this is how it can be for us to face our fears. It can be as intense as those kind of awful addiction withdrawal scenes in a movie. But you got nothing better to do. I mean, that's what this world is for. That's what this world is for. So who wants to kick the habit? Yeah, I'm in. I mean, I will be the character from that movie that locks you in the room if that's helpful for you to get through your addiction. Of course, I'll bring you food and water so you won't starve or anything. But to move through that intensity, I'll play that part. I won't believe your false cries when you say you want to quit right at the beginning, because that's just the addiction talking. That's just the last gasp of the drug that you're releasing from. And this is the drug of, again, believing that you're a separate being. It's very intoxicating. It's very alluring, but it's not helpful and it's not true. When somebody is really fixed in a belief, how do you get them to get out of it? In America, where I'm from, and I think elsewhere around the world, there's a lot of people that get sucked into like conservative politicians and conservative rhetoric. And again, most of it doesn't even have anything to do with even the reality of this world, the so-called reality of this world. But to try to get someone to see that is very hard because the mind wants to believe what it wants to believe. So there has to be an openness. There has to be an openness to questioning the beliefs. Without that, you could just argue with someone till the end of your life and not change their mind at all. But if there's a desire for healing, if there's a desire for opening, if there's a desire to see what's under the surface, then yeah, let's dive in. Yeah. And we can dive in here. We can dive in. If somebody wants to lay something down, somebody wants to open something up. And look beneath the surface here. I don't hear you yet. Does anyone else hear
Okay,
Emma?
can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yep.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. That's so beautiful. Almost like a sadness. Like it's not. I wouldn't say grievances with people. Like people are. It's more of it's an inward like. Yeah, I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe what I'm thinking is so I'm back in England now in my normal routine. Like I'm just sort of not interested like
Mhm.
in what the old things I maybe would find joy in. I just think like I just whether that's exercise, I used to exercise a lot. Like I just and yeah, it's so I'm hoping it's just like a process of like
Mm.
letting Emily go. And maybe I'm just sort of it's like grieving or something like um I almost felt, I guess, a similar thing with Harry, like, oh, that part of Harry's gone. It's almost like like you said, there's part of us that doesn't want to let that go, or um, and maybe I have that with myself. Maybe I'm a bit like, oh, what's going on here? This is a bit strange, but so I'm trying to see it as a positive thing, but at the same time, I feel quite like flat almost, like a bit like, well, what is all this? Like I look around my flat and I'm like, oh, this is madness. Like, what is all this? It's so weird.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess I'm just yeah asking whether you have any like I don't know words about it really because I'm just yeah it's just not very pleasant I suppose. I
Mm.
just but
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think you're right in the journey, you're right in the process. You know, you're letting go of the ideas of who you've been and who you've thought you are, and but now you find yourself back in England, and so it's sort of like, well, what is this for? What do I do here? And maybe it's okay to not know for a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I think so, and I'm doing the right things. I'm, got my head in the course a lot, and I'm forever listening to all your recordings, and it's so helpful. But when I'm not doing those things, I'm like, oh, it's just it's strange, but I'm gonna keep at it.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I heard it as an analogy of like a pane of glass that falls on the ground and seems to break into all these pieces. But the pane of glass never actually broke. We're just imagining that it broke. It can't break, actually. It's impervious. But just to remember that you're not a little piece of glass. You are the whole. You are the whole everything. You know, what does that mean? When you're going through something, when you're having a problem, when you're feeling intense about what's unfolding. Well, if you can stay in that place of knowing that you're not broken, that you're still completely whole, you can experience more and more that nothing can take you out of that place. And of course, we want to do whatever's guided, whatever's helpful. Doesn't mean just to do whatever in the world because none of it matters because it's a dream. We don't, that's not a helpful way to think. We actually want to be guided and led with each step that we take because we want to experience that oneness as soon as we can. We want to experience it as fully and as deeply and as quickly as possible. And that's what your guidance system does for you. It takes you step by step through all the experiences that are in your highest good and the highest good for all. So if you ever get in your mind I don't have to do anything in the world because it's not real anyway. Get rid of that thought. It's actually the opposite. I shouldn't ever hold back from my inspiration because the world is a dream anyway, so I might as well do what's most helpful. I want to think of it the complete opposite way. I'm willing to do whatever it takes because I want to know the truth. I want to remember what I really am, this completely unending joy and peace and love. Yes, that is what I want. So I don't want to miss any opportunity to do the guided thing. Why? Not because the chance won't come around again. It will. It'll come around as many times as you don't choose it. But because the delay of happiness and joy that saying no to guidance leads you to is pointless. You don't need to go through all that. Now, of course, because spirit is infinitely patient and 100% persistent, you will continue to be called. You'll continue to get all of the nudges, all of the reminders, all of the encouragements to go for it. But it doesn't have to take you 20 or 50 or 1,000 nudges. You can just do it on the first one. You can just go for it right away. But we don't need to be harsh if we've been resistant. We don't need to be hard on ourselves about that either, but just to realize what is it that I'm called to? And then once you realize what it is, once you're clear, this is what I'm called to, just go for it. You don't have to hold back. You don't have to wait. You don't have to think about it and pray some more. No, take the step, take the plunge, take the leap. It's worth it. And if you've taken the leap and you're called to another leap, do that one too. Keep leaping, just leaping in joyful abandon. I love that line. Why wait for heaven? Why wait? Why wait for heaven? You don't have to. If you have a belief that you have to wait, well, let's look at that. Let's offer that over to Holy Spirit. Let's put that on the table. I think that maybe in 20 years I'll be able to be happy. No, don't do that to yourself. That's awful. That's always right here. It's always right here. And if you're not experiencing it, well, then you're having a healing issue. You have something you can offer to Holy Spirit. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay to have stuff. It's okay to have resistance. It's okay to have fear. It's okay to have judgment. It's okay to even be experiencing pain. But you want to remember what to do with it. You want to give it to Holy Spirit. You want to ask for a shift. You want to awaken to what you really are. You don't want to just get stuck in it and get mired in the swamp with fear and judgment. No, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your experience. It's a waste of your holy mind. Your holy mind is so precious. It's so pure. It is so loving. It is so extending. It just wants to extend, wants to share the love that it is. Well, when you are doing that, you are in your purpose. When you are sharing the love that is in you, through you, to everyone you meet, and every encounter, everyone you even think of, you just offer love to everyone, then you are in your right mind. You are in your purpose. Sometimes people ask, what is my purpose in life? Well, I'll tell you, it's to extend the love that you are. That is it. Extend the love that you are in everything that you do. Everything. Go through your whole life extending love. So if any of you were still scratching your head about your purpose, all right, I've taken that one off your plate. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Let me cross that check mark off. Okay, found my life's purpose. Barret told me it's to be loving all the time in every situation because it is your essence. That is your essence. And what does it mean again? Maybe that's not your experience in this moment. Great. Let's flush it up. Let's move it through. Let's clear that fear or the hatred or the jealousy or the judgment. That's beautiful. It's beautiful to do that. It's beautiful to bring up some fear to release it. That's a good use of your time. That's a very good use of your time. Sometimes people think that they shouldn't do that too much. Oh, I was feeling very sad, but then I cried for a while and then I thought that was enough. I don't want to be sad anymore. That's too much. Well, how do you know how much sadness has to come up? Why are you the judge of that? You don't have to be the judge of that. Holy Spirit will just allow it all. Allow all the sadness up. Allow all the tears to be shed. But use it for healing. Don't use it to keep yourself stuck. This is not a pity party. This is a healing opportunity. But again, this is the good news. There's two good things to do. Either it's to extend the love and just shine the joy that's in your heart, because that is the truth of what you are, or it's to clear what's in the way of doing that. That's very simple. Those are your two uses of time, all the time. If you're not doing one of those two things, then start doing one of those two things. Let's see, what was I doing? If you forgot what you were doing, then pick one of those two things and do it. If you're feeling loving, extend that love. Share that love. How do you extend that love? Well, just ask Spirit. What's the way I can extend some love? Maybe I want to share my joy. I want to record a video on Facebook and I'm going to give it to all my friends because I love them so much. Beautiful. That's great. Maybe I want to move through some of my fear. Maybe I want to look at this anxiousness I've been feeling for a really long time. I've been feeling anxious for a long time. What is that about? Get curious. Get curious. Take these experiences to Holy Spirit. And again, if you think you have more than these two things to do in your life, you're wrong. It is one of these two things all the time. Feeling love? Great. I'm just going to think loving thoughts to everyone because I just love everyone so much. That's beautiful. And perhaps you're already doing that. Maybe you're doing that a good chunk of the time. That's great. But again, if you're not doing that, use it for healing. Use it for unwinding your fear. Use it for stepping out of your small personality self. Sometimes it's just as simple as, oh, I have this very fixed belief. Write the belief down. Think about it. Pray about it. Offer it to the Holy Spirit. I believe this very strongly. I think this is how it is. I think this is how I have to be. Maybe how other people should be. But is that the truth? Do you have to believe that? This is a way to work with your mind. Bring the belief up for questioning. I read a story about a monk who was meditating and meditating for years and years and years. And I don't know how many years after he started meditating, he was sitting there and he had the thought, it's important to work hard. It's important to work hard. And he realized that was just a belief. That was just a belief that he'd held his whole life and just assumed was the truth. And then he offered that belief over, and he didn't have to believe it anymore. What are you believing? What are you believing is just the truth? What do you think is just how things are? Jesus says we have to question the value. We have to question every value that we hold. Every value, every false belief has to be washed away. So there's space. If anyone wants to put a false belief or a value or just something on the altar here, we can do that. Yeah, maybe we just let these thoughts be the closing of the session tonight. Just like everything we experience is either love or a call for love. Everything that we're going through is either an experience of love or an opportunity for healing. We can really pray on this, meditate on this, take it in. Because using these thoughts, practicing them, living them, is how our life is transformed. I just feel a gentle joy at being with you all tonight. I look forward to connecting more again. As most of you know, we have a number of beautiful retreats coming up. David's coming in October. And we have our very, very deep 40-day devotional retreat here, starting on October 29th. Yeah, yeah. So our hearts are open, our doors are open, our arms are open to you. Feel free to reach out if you need anything, want to connect on anything. Lots of love.